And welcome to Robinson Hall Experts Talk. My name's Laura Saunders, Marketing and PR Manager. Today is the 5th of November and we are going to be talking about maximising your property's potential at auction. I have Charles Lovell and David Jones with me. David Jones is auctioneer. He has 4 decades worth of experience in the land and property world. He can be found on the rostrum at our auctions, rapidly concluding each sale. Hello, David. Charles Lovell is head of auction. Charles has worked for Robinson Hall for over 13 years and has been instrumental in building the department into one of the most successful regional auction houses in the country. So we've just had our largest auction to date in October. Fantastic news. How was it?
Oh, well, the auction in October, as you know, Laura, we have a sale every 2 months. And October was a bit of a landmark for us. It was the first time we'd had more than 50 lots in the catalogue. Our catalogue keeps growing and growing every year. This year's been very strong. So we entered the auction, I think, Charles, with confidence that we got plenty of lots in, but also a little bit of trepidation because we got this upcoming budget and we didn't know how buyers were going to feel. And we found that on the day the room was full. We had plenty of people booked in on our live stream bidding, and I think our sales percentage, as it stands at the moment, is at about 84 or 85% of lots sold. So we were a bit nervous beforehand, I think, Charles, but
we were. Yeah. We had as David said, a room full of people, a really good buzz, and some really strong bidding. I mean, we had probably our highest multiple in terms of guide price to sale price, which was actually 16 times the guide price of the property sold at. It was a little half acre of wooded scrubland, really. No established entrance to the road. The boundaries were somewhat lost after it had been in the same family ownership since 1963. And we guided it at £10,000, and well, David put the hammer down at 160,000, which was absolutely remarkable.
It was quite something.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was a day when little bits of land were certainly chased by people. And I think probably what I noted was that most of our bidding, well, let's say 2/3 of our bidding, was probably in the room. People like to come along to a live sale room. We're one of the few auctioneers in the country who have a live sale room. Most people try to do it all online, but I don't think it works. And it gives people confidence, and that's why on these little bits of land and on houses that are projects and other properties that are investments, when they come to the room and they see other people bidding, we needn't worry. If they're in the room and they're seeing each other bidding, then the bidding will continue and we'll do well for our sellers.
I think that's the key issue. Confidence in any market. Confidence is key. Sometimes it's naturally there. You hear news reports that house prices are going up at £10 a minute. Everybody's rushing out to buy a house. But in tougher markets that we've experienced in recent years, people are looking to see what others are prepared to do. When you stand in an auction room, you can see that man's got his hand in the air. Well, he's prepared to exchange at this price, so it's definitely worth that. If I bid another bid, all I've overpaid is the difference between the underbidder and myself, which might be just a few £1,000s.
It's a fantastic atmosphere as well, isn't it? Coming to the auction. Obviously, if you are a seller, you can come along, you can see your lots being sold.
It is an atmosphere. It's almost a timeless atmosphere. You can imagine auctions going back hundreds or even thousands of years, and it would have the same atmosphere. There's an element of tension and excitement, people coming together. There's a social element to it as well. And as I said a moment ago, I think those that are trying to do auctions entirely through live stream are missing that atmosphere. If you watch them, I don't want to criticise our colleagues too much, but it can be like watching paint dry, watching one of those auctions. But if you watch one of our auctions with people in the room sparking off each other, shouting things out, it's like a bear pit sort of market atmosphere sometimes.
And I think also as people arrive, we've got an increasing number of people that wish to exhibit. So we've got a number of solicitors, we've got lenders, we've got our lettings department, we've got a variety of people there. Howdens come along, so those people looking to fix something up, they can sign up and get a Howdens account, and the whole thing just adds to the whole. Well, to the melee, to the excitement.
I think also maybe on this occasion there were some people who came along because they wanted to be on television. We were being filmed for Sarah Beanie's new show, which is going to go out in the spring. What's it called?
It's called I Bought It at Auction.
I Bought It at Auction. Yeah. So they were filming us, and in fact the film company were delighted to be able to film an active sale room, because previously they had been filming just people selling on live stream, and it's not the same. They were delighted, and I think maybe the room was a bit more exciting because the television cameras were around.
I'm certain it was. Certain it was. Yeah.
I'm sure that's not the case. So, which lots tend to sell the best at auction?
Properties where people can see they can add value, they always do well. So your typical house that's perhaps fallen into disrepair, often they come to us perhaps as a result of executor sale, or perhaps to raise money for care home fees.
Yeah.
So very often those types of properties come in and do extremely well. Parcels of land, people will apply their own interpretation of hope value. They're looking at something and really asking themselves, what might I be able to achieve in terms of any kind of planning gain? How long would that take? And there's plenty of people out there looking to invest in the long term, perhaps as an investment, not even for themselves, for a child or a grandchild. So small parcels of land always seem to do well as people apply their own hope value, but again, they can gain extra confidence from seeing other bidders in the room.
And I think it's not just about which properties are good for auction, it's also about which sellers are ready for auction. And I would just say that particularly sellers who are, let's say, responsible to others, whether they're executors or trustees, whether there's a property that's in sort of multiple family ownership, if you want to know that you can get the property sold quickly and in a manner that is transparent, and the beneficiaries that you're responsible for can be satisfied that you've done the right job, then auction is very good for those sort of sellers. So executors, trustees, anybody where they're responsible to other people, find the auction process sort of comforting and transparent and safe, a very safe environment for them.
It's that ability to be able to demonstrate that you've achieved market value. And so there's no quibbling afterwards. It's gone to the room, it's sold in a public environment, this was the sale price, and we can be satisfied that it's derived the realistic amount. And particularly for those raising money for care home, if there's a local authority that somebody's got to demonstrate that the property sold fairly, then again auction delivers that for them.
How can sellers maximise their lot at auction?
I think having a legal pack in good time, that's always important. We don't like very late legal packs, and certainly buyers don't. Sometimes a buyer might be spooked that something's trying to be brushed under the carpet or hidden somewhat, and very much we like the whole idea of transparency.
And we work with a large number of lawyers and always with new ones as well, but we do have those that we work with regularly, and we would encourage people to go to those because they know how to put together a pack quickly and also simply. It doesn't need to be made complicated and look frightening to buyers. Buyers have only got a limited amount of time to become confident in their purchase, and the simpler and more straightforward it is, the better. If there are lots of complications in there and you're trying to hide extra costs away, or trying to hide that there's an issue with the title or an issue with the structure or whatever there is, then that doesn't help at all. The legal pack should be very straightforward. Any problems should be out on the face of the legal pack. and then a buyer can have confidence in knowing about the property they're about to bid for.
Yeah, and I think for sellers also to be transparent from the start. If you know there's an issue, say so. If it's a structural issue, if it's an issue involving the title, we've had one recently with an overage, and the seller forgot to mention the overage. It's all going to come out in the wash. So having that included in the description from the start, and then there's no issue. People can look at it. They know there's a problem, and they can account for it.
Yeah, and another mistake that I think a few sellers make is to try to put any sort of clawbacks or restrictions on the property they're selling. There is a place for those sort of things, obviously, but as much as possible, we suggest that they're avoided, largely because buyers hate them.
Yeah.
If you're selling a property, or if you're trying to buy a property, you want to buy it. You don't want to think that the person selling it to you still has control over what you're buying. So don't fetter your property with sort of silly restrictions or clawbacks. And the other thing I would just sort of bring up on maximising is with some properties, it's good to divide it up. I can think of a small farm we had at Thornborough a year or so ago. And there were actually 2 cottages on there and some scruffy buildings, and I forget the acreage, but maybe 50 or 60 acres of land and some woodland. And we divided that up into 5 separate lots, and each lot had its own identity, and each lot really sold well. Whereas I think leaving it as a whole,
You're restricting your market.
Well, you are restricting your market. It's hard to imagine who would have bought the whole and paid good money for it. So the lotting, the division of the property, and the order of those lots sometimes is something to think about carefully.
So obviously we can advise on that. So I guess it's really be flexible with what you're selling,
Flexible, yeah.
Yeah, we'll obviously advise if we feel, because we've got the experience of selling a lot of properties. So if you feel that it would be better to split it into lots, we can obviously advise that when we come and meet with you initially.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the other thing that some sellers want to do is to improve their property. I think if you can get a planning permission that adds value, then that's great. Just be careful. Planning permissions take a long time to get, and they are expensive, and the outcome isn't necessarily guaranteed. But if you can get a valuable planning consent, then that's great for the property. But then if you start sort of effecting that planning, or if you start trying to improve it, or if you've got an untidy property and you start tidying it up, generally speaking, you won't get your money back. I would suggest that basically you offer the property up as it is and let the next people imagine what they can do with it. If you've got a house that's in bad order and you want to put a new kitchen in, you can bet you put the wrong kitchen in for most buyers. Yeah. If you leave it blank, they can imagine whatever it is they want. So generally speaking, we would say don't improve, but if you can get a valuable planning consent, that's definitely worth looking at.
Definitely.
There's also planning permission in principle, isn't there? So it doesn't always have to.
Planning.
Yeah, but he would be able to get a permission in principle, which is a new planning policy that's come in, really replacing or equivalent to the old outline planning.
Correct, a bit like the old-fashioned outline planning, and it's quicker and cheaper. And that's definitely a way that some of our sellers have been going.
Yeah. We have
a couple like that lately. Plot in Tinswick, which had a permission in principle for 2 dwellings. We had another one at Maids Morton that had permission in principle. So we're starting to see it more. And
I think those properties with permission in principle sell well at auction, but they wouldn't sell well by private treaty, because I think it just gives a buyer too much time to then worry about what they might be able to do next with the property. There is you then need to get a full planning permission to show what you can build on it. And I think in the private treaty market, those sort of properties falter a bit, but at auction they go much better.
I think the problem is that the type of buyer that's attracted to that property with a permission in principle is generally somebody with a bit of awareness. They're likely to put the brakes on having had an offer accepted under a private treaty sale, and then they will go off and do make their applications and inquiries about what they can actually achieve. And if they have any doubts, they'll walk away.
You also touched on don't kind of tidy up your property or put new kitchens in. What about land? Like if you've got a bit of land that's really overgrown, do you mow
Sometimes
it?
it's good to let the dog see the rabbit. If it's so overgrown that you just can't appreciate the size of it, it can be good to undertake an amount of clearing. But often, people can see a title plan. They can gauge the size from that.
Yeah, I think if it's if it's covered in scrub, it'd be good to at least mow out a corridor around the property so that people can have a walk around.
Around it.
They can sort of see where the back boundaries are, if you like. But the same as with a residential property, offer it up, let people imagine what they might want to do with it next.
Okay. So if I'm a seller listening, what advice would you give me?
Well, the first thing is give us a call. We're always happy to speak on the telephone and indeed to come out and view the property and to give that auction advice. That's for free. We're very happy to do that. So step one would be give us a call. And maybe before that, look on our website, look at all of our past auctions are on there. So you can look up all the properties sold in the past, what their guide price is, what price they've actually achieved. We've got various other pages on there that talk you through the auction process. So just make yourself comfortable with that. But the most important thing is give us a chance to come out and speak with you, and we can talk you through the process.
Great.
We're not going to come out and suggest auction if we genuinely don't think it's suitable. From our point of view, we really want properties into auction that we expect to sell. Our percentage sold is very important to us. These results are published on our website. They're recorded independently by the Essential Information Group, and we need to be able to demonstrate a high percentage sold to give people confidence.
Yeah.
Why would you come to an auctioneer where they only sell half of what they offer? I've got a half chance of selling with you. No, we always aim to be, or we try to be, in excess of 80%. I think
sometimes we're over 90.
Yeah. This year I think we're on 85.4%, something like that.
We've still got one auction to go.
We have, yeah, and it's been a good year. We've sold more with an auction to go than we did in all of last year. So very pleased with that.
Yeah.
And we've had some landmarks this year. The February auction, we started really strongly. We actually sold 50% more in terms of capital value than we did in the February of 2024. April saw our biggest sale in terms of the amount raised. We raised over 7 million, which was a real feather in our cap.
Really good for our sellers.
Yeah. And June sale, we had one of the highlights there was the highest value in-room sales. So we had a house at Gerrards Cross. This was a house that had been on with an agent, and 2 sales had gone wrong. They were asking, I think, 1.8. The last sale agreed was 1.6. Having had that sale go wrong, we offered it at 1.2. It actually came in quite late. It came in as a late entry, but the solicitor was very good. And the solicitor produced a legal pack in good time, which really made all the difference. And we saw bidding, we guided a 1.2 million, and the bidding went all the way up to 1.64 million.
Great.
So it was actually £40,000 more than the last sale that had been aborted. So I think the sellers were delighted, and the speed of the transaction was under 4 weeks from instruction to exchange of contracts. It had been on the market for many, many months prior to that.
I think about 18 months, actually, a long time.
Auctions this year, we've had a highlight or we've hit a goal.
Yeah. And we've just finished with October sale, the highlight being our highest number of lots. So 52 lots in the catalogue. A couple of those didn't make it. Again, late legal packs, so we had to draw a couple. And then being chosen by the production company for this new Sarah Beanie show, I think was also something we're very proud of, because they chose just 6 auctioneers from across the country. So we're one of 6, and I think we were only one of 2 in-room auctioneers. So we're looking forward to seeing the show.
Indeed.
That'd be good. It'd be good because you'll get a real feel for how auction works. So obviously this year has been a record-breaking year in regards to lots of things. How do you predict the market for next year?
So I think that particularly in the private treaty sector, that word confidence again will be lacking.
Yeah.
We seem to ride out through the tough markets. I think we will see a continuation, similar percentage sold.
Absolutely. But of course, pricing will be key.
It will.
It will be key, and if depending on how the economy is going, how the property market is going generally, we must get things priced. Must get things priced right. The few percent that we don't sell is where perhaps we are persuaded by our sellers to go a little bit too high on the guide price, and we reap what we sow there. But I do think next year we should continue to see a growth in numbers, not just with Robinson and Hall auctions, but as a sector, it's a small part of the market, but it's growing across the country, and we're growing with that. So I think in terms of volume, it should grow, but actual saleability, I think, will be driven by this budget and how the economy goes through next year. But there's always people out there with money, always people out there looking for bargains, always people out there looking for projects and investments, and auctions have survived for hundreds of years, and I think they'll keep rolling on.
Yeah, I think at tough times, people like to put the money into something that's tangible,
Yeah.
something they can touch and feel and go and look at, and property does that, whether it's a piece of land or a building.
Yeah, I always remember when we had lockdown, we thought, cracky, this could be the end of the property market. Everyone would just pull the shutters down, but it was bad times for everybody, wasn't it? But the property market sort of had a real fillip on the back of it, and the same could happen next year. There's always people wanting to put their money somewhere safe.
I think we often find as well that some of the buyers that we see at the auction are repeat buyers, aren't they? They come time and time again. So they are, the likes of the ones that want to increase their portfolios and are looking to invest their money in, like you said, tangible.
And we get a lot of buyers who are quite complimentary to us, that they like to buy through us. They appreciate the fact that the legal packs are transparent. We try and strip away those nasty costs that some auctioneers apply. There's something called a buyer's premium, which a lot of auctioneers, particularly these
The modern method of auction.
And it's an easy sell to the seller. Oh, we won't charge you anything. It won't cost you anything to sell at auction. Rubbish. They're applying what can be a 5% premium to a buyer, and 5%, that tots up, and if they've got to pay VAT on that, that's really quite shocking. So people, as buyers, they really don't like that. For us, we try and stop that, and we're quite relaxed about search recovery costs. But aside of that, we see some solicitors include extortionate fees for their cost that the buyer's supposed to pay.
Way more than they should be, and they think if it's hidden away that it's earning extra money for themselves or for their client, but it isn't. Buyers are not stupid. Buyers see these things and they don't like it. They'll go somewhere else,
or they'll just bid less, and they'll bid significantly less, because then they'll round up all their costs and they'll say, right, well, I'm into it for another 10,000. I'm bidding 10,000 less. So no, it's quite satisfying when buyers do give us compliments that they come back time and time again to purchase through ourselves because they feel they get fair treatment.
And we get buyers who end up as sellers as well.
Yeah.
Because they've had confidence as a buyer, then they become a seller, and sellers become buyers. It's I think it's a world that people
two-way street. I think really from what sellers have to accept is that if there are extra costs that a buyer is going to incur through taxation, the seller's going to get less. That's what it whittles down to.
That's what it comes down to. But also, if there is a market adjustment, auctions are always the quickest to to adjust. The private treaty market gets stuck on its old guide prices, and things do get sort of stuck in the mud a bit. It's unfortunate if prices slip a bit, but we can react much quicker than anybody else. And as long as we get our guide pricing right for the new market, then there will always be a buyer out there somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, because obviously we have an auction every 2 months. If you are interested in entering a lot into our next auction, please get in touch with Charles and David.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything to add before we conclude?
Have a look at our website. I think it's where we started, and that's perhaps where we can finish. Have a look at our website and educate yourself about auctions. Come along to our next auction. You don't have to put a property in. You don't have to be buying a property. Come along and watch it. Educate yourself. We're always happy to come out and look. Very often people don't take us up on our offer to put their property into their auction immediately, but maybe 6 months time, 18 months time, they come back and we're able to help them out. So educate yourself, look at the website, come and attend an auction, and speak with us. Let us come and look at your property.
Indeed, yeah.
Great. Thank you ever so much for your time today. Thank you for listening. Thank you, David and Charles.
Thank you, Laura.
If you'd like to speak to either David or Charles, please visit the Robinson Hall auction website. Contact details can be found on there. And yeah, get in touch if you've got any questions. Hopefully you've enjoyed our conversation today and got some insights into the best way to enter your property into our auction. I've launched many podcasts, so have a look at the Robinson Hall podcast page. There's various subjects. We have had a couple of auction podcasts previously to this as well. So please listen to them, and hopefully you'll tune in again next time. Many thanks. Goodbye. Our podcasts are for informational purposes only and are based on the information available at the date of the recording. Listeners are responsible for how they interpret and use the information, and Robinson Hall LLP will not be responsible for any losses, damages or liabilities that may arise from a listener relying on the information given. Listeners should take advice from an appropriate professional which is tailored to their specific needs.